Today's lecture is, well, the preamble that I give, I spoke today at Columbia Law School, right? Right, and the law school is, Columbia in general, and specifically the law school is a intense, hot environment. All kinds of interesting radicalism is tolerated at Columbia, and so I was okay there as well. That's right, it was a joke. When I speak to an audience like at Columbia Law School, the first thing I'm going to tell them is that I'm about to share with you, this is my preamble. I'm going to say, I'm sharing with you my narrative. I'm not sharing with you the truth. I'm sharing with you my truth. You don't have to buy it. You don't have to like it. You don't have to trust my facts. Check it out, you know? I'm not trying to come down hard on you with my truth that you didn't know. I'm sharing with you my slice of life, the way we see things. I do represent a city in Israel, which is a very hotspot city, very contested. And so it's interesting. Sometimes I like to say in front of those audiences, like, I'm a settler. Here it is. You got a chance to actually communicate with a settler. This is your opportunity. This is probably the first settler you met, or probably the first settler you met today, right? So I'm going to start here. 1948, Israel declares a state, right? And our enemies are not so excited about that, right? Arab countries, 6 Arab armies amass on our borders, and they try to destroy us. And here's a trick question. Did we win or lose the 1948 War of Independence? That's right, we won. Okay, good. We got through that. Good. So we win that war, but we also lost something. What did we lose? Jerusalem? That's right. We actually lost, and I'm going to pass this map around. You're going to love this map. This is the best map. We lost, well, you know what, by the way, that's a good lesson for me, that when I asked you what we lost, you know that we lost Jerusalem. But do you know that we also lost Hebron? And Bethel, and Bethlehem, and Shechem, also known as Nablus today? Okay, we lost a good chunk of land in the highlands here. And then we fought another war in 56. Then once again, Arab armies were amassing. And Nasser shot down the Straits of Tiran in June of 67, in May of 67. And in June, we launched a preemptive war. And Arab armies amassed, and we defeated them. 1973, once again, they amassed. And this was a tougher war, but we defeated them, right? So basically, what happened every time we had a war with the Arabs? I'll show it to you graphically. It goes like this. Okay? Here they go. They're bringing their tanks and the stuff. They're coming, and they're getting ready on the borders, and then they go, whoop. And then see what happens. This is what happens. Boing. Right? They go tick, 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 whoop, and then goes boing. Right? Why did that happen? Why did that happen? Isn't that pretty cool that that happened? That's pretty cool, right? The truth is, I think I submit to you that we actually have a secret weapon. And that secret weapon is actually Jewish unity. We have a secret weapon. Here's how it goes. When the Jewish people are attacked, you guys, some of you folks, not a lot, I see a few of you folks may remember 1967. Am I right? Right? I mean, what was that like? It was scary, right? It was a tough moment, but somehow we all got together around this issue. There's a few moments, by the way, that we all got together on. One of them I actually have to thank you for, which is Russian Jewry. My parents are Russian Jews. There was a moment in this country where you guys got together, and many of you remember it well, and you got together over a big thing, and it happened, and it happened. We got together over defending Israel, right? And every time, there's something magical that happens to the Jewish people when you, can I take this mic off? Is that possible? Oh, I'm free. Okay. Sheesh. So something magical happens to the Jewish people when we're attacked and we get this moment of existential threat. You know what happens? It's something biological, something almost crystalline happens. We come into like a crystal ball. We become an impossible nut to crack. We just get together. You want to kill us all? We just get together and something happens and there's magic, unity. It's a magical, magical thing that happens to us. Now, our enemies are not dumb. My Arab cousins are not dumb, okay? They're not dumb. And they get back down to the drawing board and they thought to themselves, why are we losing all these wars? Why is Allah not with us? And they figured out that the way to beat the Jews is not through getting them to have this moment of unity. What is the opposite of unity? Division. What's the greatest division in the Jewish world today? The greatest division. Huh? Help me out. Orthodox and everybody else. Fine. Even the Orthodox have subdivisions. Yes? What else? Ashkenazi, Sephardi. You don't think about that, but in Israel it's stronger. What else? You're missing a big one. There's also liberal and conservative, right? Hello? Something going on here, right? Okay. What else? There's one big one you're missing. It's glaring. It's huge. It's massive. What's the biggest division in the Jewish world today? That's right. Israel and the United States. American Jewry shops at Target. Israeli Jewry is a Target, right? That was a joke. And we're a divided people across a humongous ocean between us, right? And our enemies have come to the conclusion that the way to defeat us is to divide us. The way to defeat us is to keep American Jewry away from Israeli Jewry, to scare them to not coming. And there are figures that I don't believe that some 80% of American Jewry hasn't been to Israel. I don't believe that. But there's figures like that. Okay? You think it's true? You think it's true? And why don't people come? Because it's scary. Well, who created the scariness? Somebody who wants you not to come there. Okay? There are efforts to divide us. Also, here's another division. Check this out. I don't hate Jews. I'm not an anti-Semite. I just hate Israel. I don't hate Israel. I hate Netanyahu. I don't hate Netanyahu. I hate the settlers. I don't even hate the settlers. I hate Hebron and the extremists. All these subdivisions. Somebody else for us to feel like that guy's the bad guy. That guy over there, he's the bad Jew. He's the one that's causing all this trouble. These are classic ways of divide and conquer. Divide and conquer. And the divide and conquer especially landed on the Jews of the West Bank, the settlers. They're the troublesome folks. If it was only not for the settlers, we would have peace, right? If it was only not for these communities over there, wait a minute, you didn't have peace before we had these settlements? No, now we only want this area, and if we'll get peace, right? Divide and conquer, everything is divided. And now that we are so-called occupying, now everybody's been told a narrative that thank you. Can we keep that open a little bit? Thank you. That the Jewish people are somehow a bad people. Have you noticed this lately? We are the bad folks. This is what with the bad folks, the bad people. You haven't noticed it? You haven't noticed that that's what all the kids are taught all the time? That we have stolen somebody else's land? That we're the abusers? Have you heard the word apartheid about us? What kind of absurdity is that? Okay, here we go. I need you to help me understand 3 pillars of pro-Israel, of rationale for pro-Israelism. Give me one pillar of why people feel like they could support, that we could say that we have a right to this land and that people should support us. Indigenous population. Okay, we're the indigenous folks. Okay, that's a pretty relatively new, not everybody in this audience necessarily knows how to talk that way yet, but that's a very important one. The framing is we're people of the past. We're people that have been here, right? So one of the ways that I say that is, well, we have a Bible. The Bible has history in it, right? If I tried to quote the Bible, if I quoted the Bible 200 years ago at Harvard, how did I do there? Well, 200 years ago. You know why? Because they studied it in Hebrew. Go to Harvard today and talk about the Bible. They will roll their eyes. Okay? Recently I had a European group, and I go, well, for us the Bible is like for you. It was and there were Greeks amongst them. I'm like, for us the Bible is like for the Odyssey for you. They're like, the what? I'm like, you know Homer, Iliad, the Odyssey? Like, no. They don't know what it. So kids today are not reading the classics. And they're certainly not reading the Bible. And I must say that maybe in this room we haven't all read through the Bible, right? So, right, all of us have a little bit of we haven't gone through the classics yet. So, is the Bible sexy today? Can I sell the Bible to anybody? Huh? Yes or no? Right, not to the Christians. I'm talking about regular folks. No, it's dead. Did Ben Gurion believe in the Bible? Ben Gurion, David Ben Gurion. Yes, he did. Not in a theological sense. He didn't believe that God gave us the land, but you know what he did believe? This is our historical stories. So the Bible splits into 2. It's either our ancient history or our theological, godly given thing, okay? You don't have to buy into the theology, but the Bible is a valuable document. Today, the Bible is dead. It's dead. So a person like me can get up there. If I start quoting the Bible at Columbia Law, they will file right out of the room. Okay, so that's one leg that we used to lean on got kicked out from under us. Where did the Balfour Declaration come from? Lord Arthur Balfour was being read to the Bible every night by his mother. It's said that when World War I was happening, he knew the biblical places better than where the British Army was all over Europe and all kinds of. He knew the name Beersheba. He knew it. Acre. He knew those names. Those names meant something to him. All right. But the Bible. What gave us international legitimacy under Balfour is gone today. Right? Give me another one. What's another legitimizer for the state of Israel? Homeland. Great. You guys are doing great. We're knocking it out one by one. Which is, here's another word for that. Nationalism. Self-determination. Those used to be beautiful concepts. I said the word nationalism today at Columbia. They were like, oh, ethno-national state? You want an ethno-national state? I'm like, yeah. They're like, ethno-national state. That sounds like... Sweden. No, it does not sound like Sweden. They don't know what Sweden is. You say ethno-national state, they think... You say ethno, they think... Nazism. That's what they think. You say, no, I'm not talking about Nazism, no expansion. I'm talking about my ethnic people living on my ethnic land. They don't know from that. You can't sell to them easily nationalism. Okay, that's where American kids are today. They're not there with nationalism. So this humongous thing, which 100 years ago was absolutely key in establishing all these countries around the world, suddenly it's gone, national. What are you saying? You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. I was speaking to J Street kids a few days ago about Hebron. I'm the token settler for many organizations on the left. Okay, I actually try to get that role. Okay, let me be your token settler, I say. Okay, so and I get it, and it's fun, and I have a great time conversing with them. I started asking the kids, "What do you know about Hebron?" I said, "I say Hebron, you say occupation." I'm like, "What is the special site in Hebron?" They did not know it. They did not know it. So I said to them, if you don't know that the tomb of the fathers and mothers is in Hebron, I could stick anything in your head. You have no defenses. Israel's a bad state. It stole somebody else's land. Yeah, why not? That's what they're taught by the professors. Okay, but maybe we didn't do a great job of passing on to them that Hebron is the tomb of the fathers and mothers. They don't get it taught in school. Okay, whatever. You know what? We're not passing around blame right now. The bottom line is they don't know. Okay, there's the third one. There's another one, guys. There's another big one, which a lot of you folks felt in your life. There's one more big rationale. That's right. Exactly. The Holocaust. The Holocaust. The Holocaust was a really, 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 really bad event. And the Jewish people, it was shown that we've been persecuted for 2,000 years. It culminated in the Holocaust. And therefore, the Jewish people needed a refuge. Remember, the state of Israel's creation was already way before the Holocaust. I'm not even talking about Judaism. I'm talking about in modern state-building times. Remember, 1917 is way before the Holocaust. That's where Balfour starts, and then the 20s was San Remo, all that stuff way before. But the Holocaust was like, whoa, the world has to accept our right to exist, right? And we also were like, we're going to fight. What about the Holocaust today? How does that sound today? People don't want to hear about it for a few reasons. One, maybe we overplayed it a little bit. Two, the kids don't really like the Holocaust because on the one hand we say the Holocaust, but on the other hand we say startup nation. So you're like a fancy, strong nation, so what are you selling me your little sad story, right? It's confusing for the mind. Moreover, today in the ultra-liberal mindset, you have this when I say liberal mindset, I'm talking about general swaths, okay? Just, we know what we're talking about, so don't get stuck on little words. That mindset is the person who's the victim is to the victim go the spoils, right? What was it? Plight makes right, and to the victim go the spoils, right? That's where we're at today. That was a professor from Bar Ilan, I forgot his name, and he came up with that phrase. So I've now given you the major pillars of which Israel is There's one more actually I'll get to in a second, but those pillars have been knocked out. So you can understand why kids don't exactly understand how to answer the claims. Because every time they try to approach a claim, they say, well, there's the Bible, I don't want to say Bible, there's nationalism, oh, that's Nazism. I say Holocaust, you guys are perpetrating the Holocaust. We're the Holocaust makers now. So that is where the pillars have gone. Now, my friends, that is where the war is today. Our children are in a war, or grandchildren, they're in a war. What is that war? We've fought in wars of guns. How are we with guns, the Jewish people? We're damn good. Okay, we're so good that we're exporting the teaching of fighting to the world. We're some of the world's great security agents. And by the way, we're also good at fighting computers. Israel is at 4 out of 5 of the world's biggest computer, cyber protection, cyber security companies are in Israel. We're good at war. But the enemy has taken us down a new path, which is a war of delegitimization, or what I call the narrative war. The narrative war. And are we ahead of them in terms of warfare, in terms of physical warfare? We're like 30 years ahead of them in terms of physical warfare. They don't have, I read in foreign newspapers that we have nuclear arms, okay? And et cetera. You know, we have great strength today. You won't even believe the stuff that we got going on. But in terms of narrative, are we ahead or are they ahead? They're maybe 20, 30 years ahead. Okay, you say we have the worst PR. You guys say we have the worst PR. I hear this a lot. How can we have the worst PR? We have Spielberg and Zuckerberg. We're the folks that we made up PR. You know what the problem with Jews is? Do you know what the first rule of PR when you're trying to sell a product? It's called message discipline. You wake up any Arab in the middle of the night, even ones that are, okay, you wake them up in the middle of the night, they're like, occupation, they stole our land, apartheid, You wake up any Jew, like, what are we doing? Well, on the one hand, we have, it's Jewish, but it's democratic, and we have these minority. They got it, they give message discipline, bang, bang, bang. No ifs, ands, or buts, no deviation. We are not a people of one message. That's not our lot. Our central book, the Talmud, is a book of arguments. We argue. That's what we do, right? That's what we do. So therefore, it's very hard for us to give out one clear message. That's one thing. And also, we have some very serious disagreements, in fact. And so we are in a little bit of trouble when it comes to narrative. You call it PR, but I actually think we have a narrative problem. It's not PR is somebody else doing PR for you. Narrative is when you yourself don't understand how to answer. Okay, that was the picture of our challenge today. So I said to you, we're in good times, right? 6.5 million Jews, strong economy, et cetera. American Jewry doing well. I was just at AIPAC, by the way. You know what I love about AIPAC? You guys AIPAC folks here? All right, yes? I heard. Right, okay, and I heard that the next president of AIPAC is coming from this community? Yes. Well, congratulations. That's amazing. Huh? From this Temple Shalom. That's amazing. Betsy Korn. Betsy. Okay. So that's huge. That's humongous. That's amazing. You know what I love about AIPAC the most? Is being with 20,000 pro-Israel Jews together in Washington. I don't even agree with all the opinions and all the things said and all that. I have some disagreements with AIPAC policy. But to be with 20,000 pro-Israel folks in D.C., it's awesome. Okay, it's just an awesome, awesome thing. I love it very much. How did we get to AIPAC? What was the lead into AIPAC? Okay, so I'm down at AIPAC. And I had a great time. And I'm telling you, please don't I don't want anybody to come out here and say Yishai said that he was anti-AIPAC, because I'm not. I'm pro-AIPAC, okay? And I enjoy it. I love it. I've been there for 5 years in a row. I pay them a lot of money. So please, okay? But I'm on the Hill on Tuesday of AIPAC. You know how it works? Sunday you conference, Monday you conference, Tuesday you get on the buses, go to the Hill, right? You guys been lobbying in Washington? You guys ever go out there to the... You don't do that? You never walked into a congressman's office and talked about Israel? No, I don't. Nancy do it for me. It's actually super fun. In general, by the way, just parenthetically, I want you to know, going to your congressman is one of the coolest things about America. It's very America. I was up there in Washington on Capitol Hill. So here's what happens. There's like thousands, not tens of thousands, maybe 5,000 of these AIPAC people and kids walking around. And I looked at and they're going to congressman's office, they're going to lobby. I looked at some of their talking points. And some of their talking points are great, but some of their talking points say, dear Congressman, we want you to help us establish a two-state solution in the land of Israel. Let me tell you how I understand that. Hello, Gentile congressman in America. Can you please help me back in the Middle East give my land away to the Palestinians or to somebody else, although I know and you know that it became a terrorist state down in Gaza. Can we try to do that again in the highland in Israel? Can you help me with that? Can you force the other Gentile, the Arab Gentile, to take my land over there? Absurd to me. To me, it's absurd. You may say, Yishai, what are you talking about? Like two-state solution, that's normative policy. Not for me. We think it's a really bad idea. And there's a simple way to actually explain to you why. I have this beautiful map. I want you to pass it around. It's a little bit small for you at this distance. But when you pass it on, you will see what I'm talking about. Here in the middle of the country, this is the land of Israel, right? The state of Israel is on the land of Israel, mostly, right? Yeah. Just a small portion. Don't get started, all right? So here in the middle, in the heartland, here's Tel Aviv area, right? Tel Aviv, the coastal plain. The state of Israel is shaped like this. Basically, there's flat land. In the middle, there's a highland. And then there's another very deep lowland, which is a flatland, a lowland, which is the Jordan Valley, the lowest place in the world. By the way, the land of Israel is the holiest place in the world, right? You'd think we'd have Everest, right? Should we have Mount Everest? The tallest place in the world. But what do we have? The lowest place in the world. Teaches you a little humility about where God wanted us. Okay, so we have here a beautiful land, but in the middle there's a mountain range. This mountain range is the mountain range that in the 20s was recognized from this line to the west was recognized as the land of Israel. I'm not going through all the different variations of the borders, but the bottom line is this very natural border was the border to the east, and everything west was supposed to be the land of Israel, right? Then what happened? I'm skipping over the whole UN thing because the UN tried to erase this fact, but the League of Nations put it into law that this was supposed to be the land of Israel. It makes sense. It makes sense because look at the geographic boundary of it. It's so simple. Also, this is about New Jersey-sized. Is it okay to talk about New Jersey right here? Okay, so this is a New Jersey-sized piece of land as compared to the 22 Arab countries. This is about 1%, less than 1% of the Arab areas. Okay. Now, in 1948, we declared the state. Remember we talked about this. And Jordan, who was Jordan at the time? Who was this country, Jordan? It's a Hashemite kingdom, which means what? The British wanted their buddies to have a country, so they cut away 77% of the land of Israel, gave it to the Jordanians, which are not from here. They're from Saudi Arabia over here. They came here, took over this land, and the British trained them, led them, armed them, and they fought with us in 1948. What happened? We won the Independence War, but we lost this ridge. The whole ridge we lost, except for a little entrance towards Jerusalem. We lost this ridge. Then what happened in the Six-Day War? We liberated this ridge. We also liberated the Golan Heights and the Sinai, and here the Gaza Strip, okay? So how do we, the settlers, how do we see, quote-unquote settlers, of course, how do we see, that's just a term I use sometimes when, for people to know what I'm talking about. The Jews living in Judea and Samaria in the West Bank. How do we see the 1967 war? It's the end of the 1948 war. The 1948 war was the beginning. We lost a lot of land. We finished the business off in 1967. But our own country did not annex. We did not annex. Why didn't we annex?
The international laws changed after Germany, because Germany and the Nazis took over land. So there was a general opinion that you shouldn't take over land even though you won it in battle. Unfortunately.
You're talking about.
Should have annexed it.
Wait. But you said something that you're talking about the Geneva Convention. Yeah. You're talking about the Article 4 of the Geneva Convention. Yeah, but that wasn't the reason, because we did annex the Golan Heights and we did annex Jerusalem. We didn't annex because there was a lot of Arabs here. We didn't annex because we thought we could give it back for peace. We won it in a defensive war, as the gentleman said. That's a pure legal doctrine. When you win land in a defensive war, it's yours to keep. It's yours to keep. Somebody attacked you and they tried to destroy you. You pushed them back and took over land. It's yours to keep. That's law. Okay? The reason we didn't annex was because there was a lot of Arabs here. And we didn't know what to do with them. And we thought maybe we can make peace with the whole Middle East if we give back this land. It was a mistake, in my opinion, our opinion. But okay. But we did not annex. In 1967, we did not annex. A lot of Jews people like myself wanted to push in and go live there because Hebron, Bethlehem, Bethel, Beitel, these are the core places of Jewish history. The core places of Jewish history. This is what makes us, where's the name Jewish come from? Jewish comes from Judah. Judah is the tribe, Hebron was the capital of Judah, it's here. And this whole area was later known as Judea. Judea. By the way, when the state of Israel was being formulated, that was one of the names being considered. Judea. It was always called Judea. In the Persian times, it was called Yehud Medinta, which means Medinat Yehuda, the Judean state. All right? Here we go. So we didn't do it. So now we started pushing in and we started saying, no, we're going to live in these places. We're going to settle these places. We're going to settle this land. And then the state of Israel went into a process in the 90s. It tried to go the other way. It tried to say, listen, there's a lot of Arabs. We've got to separate from them. Let us walk out of these places. And that was the Oslo Accords. And later on, we'll talk about that in a second, the Gaza story. So in the mid-90s and the early 2000s, we tried to create a Palestinian Authority here. Folks, you look at this map, it doesn't make any sense to cut out this land and to empower the Palestinian Authority up here. You do that, what happens is they'll terrorize you in the land of Israel and they'll shoot from here and they'll just shut down this country. It's right in the heart. It's the heartland. All right? Now, what happened in the 90s? Did it work out? Well, there was a terror war against us. Whatever land they took, they controlled it, and then they sent terrorism out of it. And we had to fight a war which was called Defensive Shield to push them back. But we kept doing it. In 2005, now here I already was living in Israel. I was living in Bethel, but I was working for Arutz Sheva Israel National News, and they sent me down to Gaza to do media, to monitor the evacuation of Jews from Gaza. Now, we were also a protest movement. We thought it was a bad idea. Don't walk out of Gaza. Why? Because if you walk out of Gaza within a year, it's going to be a terrorist state. But we were wrong. It took 6 months, okay? All right, it was 6 months later, it became a terrorist state. You gave them, the Palestinian Authority, this land, it became Hamas. Now, we've fought already 3 wars and endless skirmishes, including last week. Early this week. Do you know how many rockets flew out of Gaza last year? 1,000 rockets. So what happens when we give away our land to... Now here's what happens. I fly in airplanes a lot. And I sit next to Gentiles. And Gentiles say to me, can I ask you one question? I go, yeah. Why do you try to give your land away to your enemies? I don't have an answer to that. I call that the question of the Gentile. The simple, plain idea. Do you want to divide this tiny land and give it to somebody else? Okay, so we've been settling this place. Now, this has met up with the delegitimization. Are we occupying somebody else's land? That is the next thing. Because we have been, here's a disease, folks, called ambivalence. Because we've been ambivalent and unclear about it, and that's your PR problem. When you're not clear, that's bad PR. Are you holding on to this land or not? Which one is it? Have you stolen it from somebody else? Do you want to go to a process where you're giving it away? If you want to give it away, that means you probably stole it. Okay? Because nobody gives away land in the Middle East. So it must be that there's a problem with the way you're looking at things, with your control over this land. And this ambivalence is what has led us to our time. We live in a time where on the one hand, there are terror entities here, there's terror entities here. There are now maybe many of these no-go zones. Of course, in Judea and Samaria, have you seen these things? Red posters that say don't enter here because the Palestinian Authority is in charge. And if you enter here, you're going to get hurt. And it says so on these posters, these big red signs. Okay, so we have that. And then we have international delegitimization. And we have all these folks, these friends of ours and friends of ours at the United Nations, at the European Union. They don't want, did you hear this? They don't want to recognize the Golan Heights, right? You heard about this. Okay, what are they saying? You've stolen the land. You've stolen the land. Now we had presidents here that pushed us very much to give away this land. Okay, Clinton, the Oslo Accords. First, Carter is to me the big one. Now, I know we're not going to get into the Egypt story because it's not relevant today, but that was the big one. Okay, that was the big one. We gave away the Sinai. We destroyed the communities here. And supposedly we got peace with Egypt. Maybe that worked, maybe that didn't. But he started that big idea. And then we went into Oslo Accords, and then we did the Gaza. Now let me ask you, when were we more liked? When we sued for peace or after the Six-Day War? You guys remember all those times. When were we more liked around the world?
We were never liked.
Okay.
We were never liked.
Yeah.
After the Six-Day War,
Yeah.
Israel in the United Nations, Abba Eban said, we are willing to get peace with Syria and give back the Golan Heights.
Right.
Syria said, no way. The same thing with Nasser.
Wait. Don't go there. I'm asking you a simple question. Were we respected after the Six-Day War? Yes. Okay. Are we more respected now after we've tried to give away land? Did the Oslo process help us get more legitimacy? No. It's been eroded. It's been eroded because it's been so unclear to people. And also, when you say something, we're going to hold on to, we're going to have settlement possibly, but we're going to have a two-state solution. Prime Minister Netanyahu says that all the time. Well, how does that sound to people? It sounds confused. Well, which one is it? Look at this tiny land. Can you have two things at once? Can you have settlements and a Palestinian state? Truthfully. No, it doesn't work. So you got to decide. You know what? You want to give away the land? Do it again. Try it. Go for it. I don't recommend it, but go for it. You're going to hold on to it, so hold on to it. Speak with clarity. That's what's very much lacking. Oh. Right, okay. She says there's a lot of Arab lands. Now, I wrote an article in the New York Times about alternatives to the two-state solution, and that's what kids want to hear. They want to hear something. They want to hear, how do we deal with the minority Arabs? Because the Arabs have done a great job promoting themselves as the victims. That's an amazing thing. By the way, one of the most amazing things about Arab victimization and the occupation narrative is that I don't know if there's ever been an anti-Semitism that has been so successful at getting Jewish kids on its side. I'm not sure there's ever been something like that. Maybe communism, though. My parents, I told that to my mom. She's like, my parents are Russian Jews. She said, maybe communism. She said, okay? Communism also got a lot of Jews. But okay, but it wasn't it was anti-Semitic, but it wasn't like its goal. This goal is, the goal of Palestine is to get rid of Jews from the land of Israel. By the way, is there a Palestinian map of the two-state solution? It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. I forgot to bring you here some of the keychains that the Arab kids sell in Hebron. It's got the state of Israel on it. It says the word Palestine. I get it. So I posted that. So one of my Arab interlocutors, I speak with Arabs all the time. My Arab friend or interlocutor says to me, he says, that's what you want. I go, exactly. I'm speaking in clarity. I want to live in this life. Now, wait a minute. What does that mean? So you want to kick out all the Arabs? Is that what you want? And that's what they want to know at Columbia. And the answer is very simple. We understand that this land is our land. This is our nation state. This is our ethnic state. This is the state. Oh, you know what? Let me ask you a question. How many Arabs are there in the Middle East, friends? How many Arabs are there?
Too many.
Come on, guys. Too many. It's their lands. Let them live there. God bless them. Allah should bless you. Be happy and successful. What do I have? I don't have any problem with you. Huh? How many Arabs are there in the Middle East? I want to tell you that the fact that you haven't jumped up and answered me is exactly what happened. I had SIPA. How many?
500 million.
Close. The answer is 400 million. Arabs. Arabs in the Middle East, 22 countries. Of course, I didn't count Turks, Iranians, and all, black Islam, African Islam. Okay? We're talking about just Arabs, 400 million. How many Jews are there in the Middle East? 6.5 million. So what is Israel? An ethnic state defending its ethnic minority. That's what we're about. We're about defending our ethnic minority. That's what Israel is. It's a small country that defends itself. Are there other ethnic minorities in the region of the Middle East? Yes, many. For example, the Kurds, put the Kurds aside. For example, the Copts in Egypt, Christians in Bethlehem, Yazidis. How are those guys doing? Not good. Why is that? One reason. Because they can't defend themselves. Because they don't have guns, because they don't know how to get together. What about the Kurds? They have a whole area of their own. They defended with an army called the Peshmerga. What are they? They're Muslims. But they push back on the jihad because the jihad wants to destroy them because they're different. So the Kurds, the Jews, are ethnic minorities that are armed in their nation states or ethnic states trying to defend themselves. That's what Israel is. Doesn't that make perfect sense to you? I'm trying to explain that there are ethnic national states. We're an ethnic national state. And there's something that we have to accept that. That's what the nation state law is about. We have an ethnic state in the Middle East. We're holding on to our land. We're defending it. Now, here's the point, Rabbi Mitch. We have a minority living amongst us. I believe that the land is ours, but we have millions of Arabs living. How many Arabs do we have? We have 2 million in Israel proper, 2 to 3 million in the West Bank, depends on how you're counting, and 2 in Gaza. Let's put Gaza out of the picture because sadly, that's its own state now. That's a lot of Arabs though, right? Okay, but if they're an ethnic minority living in my land, what am I supposed to do with them? Am I supposed to necessarily give them chunks of land? Well, the Gaza adventure has shown us that it doesn't work well. I work in Hebron. Hebron is 100%, 80%, but 100% a Hamas city. It's a Hamas-controlled city. That's a fact. That's who's in the legislature there. It's a Hamas city. There's no question about it. If we walk out of Hebron, that town, which is 200,000 Arabs, is the next Gaza. So you understand that just from a tactical military perspective, I can't walk out of there. Moreover, my narrative is tied into this place. So I'm thinking to myself, better that we annex this land, hold on to it, and how do we give these Arabs a decent life, upward mobility, decencies, liberties, rights? How do we give it to them without endangering ourselves? That's my question. Huh?
That's not what they want. They want sovereignty. They don't care about the standard of living. They want sovereignty.
Okay. But I can't give them sovereignty in my homeland. I can't do that. I'm sorry. The way I see it, how could I give them sovereignty in my ancestral homeland? It doesn't make any sense. It's the high ground. It's the homeland. We've given you sovereignty. You've tested it. It's failed and failed and failed. I can't work it. Now Rabbi Mitch, though, says they've got grievances. They've got pains. They've got suffering. Okay, we have to try to alleviate that as much as possible. We have a minority of people. How do we give them decencies and rights? You're saying that they don't even want that. Fine. However, I want to tell you, even amongst the Arabs, there are plenty of folks who don't want the jihad. In Hebron, we have a clan of 35,000 people. They're called Jabri. They hate the Palestinian Authority. They don't want their kids to be jihadis, and they don't want the corruption of the Palestinian Authority. Okay, they don't want it. And they hate him, and they love the Jewish presence there. Nobody knows about that. Everybody thinks Arabs and Jews hate each other in Hebron. Not true. We have plenty of people who are with us, okay? So I laid out for the law school kids alternatives to the two-state solution. I said to them, first thing, here's a big thought. There already has been a two-state solution. What's that second state? What's the second state? It's called Jordan. Hold on one second. Jordan, right? What do I mean by a Palestinian state? It's 80% Palestinian. And the king had to marry a Palestinian girl. I mean, she was cute. But he married a Palestinian girl just in order to legitimize his kind of fake kingdom, right? Okay, so he understands that it's really the Hashemite Palestinian kingdom of Jordan. Okay, and that was originally our land. It was cut away to give it to their Arab friends. And 80% of the people who live there are Palestinian. The rest are like Bedouin. Fine. So we say, watch this. Everybody thinks that when I say that Jordan is Palestine, that means kick out all the Arabs from my land and overthrow the regime and create a Palestinian state. No, not at all. I said this at high levels of the American administration this week. Okay? I said to them, I don't mean kick out anybody. All I mean to say is, these guys, I forgot to say one thing. 1988, the king of Jordan took away all the passports from Arabs living in the West Bank. Did you know that they were Jordanians till 1988? Do you remember that at all? They were all the Arabs living in the West Bank were Jordanians. They woke up one day stateless. This was a very illegal act. You're not allowed to take away citizenship from your people just like that willy-nilly. We say give them their statehood, the state back, reinstate them, give them their citizenship back in Jordan. They will stay living, Rabbi Mitch, they will stay living in the West Bank. They'll be residents of Israel. We will take care of infrastructure and life and opportunity in schools. They'll be residents in Israel, but they'll have their democratic vote in Amman, whatever that means, okay? They have their Palestinian state, but they get to stay here. So this important person in the administration says to me, what will the king of Jordan think? And I said, what he will think, it depends how you spin it. You just got a lot more citizens. That's a lot more, a lot more subjects, a lot more maybe revenue of some kind. It's great. You've got more impact around. You have a bigger flock. You're a bigger state. Good for you. You're still the king of Jordan, but they are residents of Israel. Of course, what I mean, folks, is that when we do this, we will annex the land of Israel all the way to the Jordan River, and we got to root out the jihad. That's for sure. You must root out the jihad in any case, right? But those people that want to live with us, and there are those, let them live in peace, as long as they're peaceful. Okay? How does that sound to you, Rabbi Mitch? Rabbi Mitch, I'm asking. Say it. Go ahead. It's okay. You can laugh at me. We said humor is okay.
Look, if I could wave a magic wand, I think it's not a horrible thing that Jordan should say, great, we'll do this.
Right.
I don't think that's the political reality
Okay.
of what we're dealing with.
Okay.
And that being the case, I repeat the question, right?
Yes, sir.
That it seems like Israel is not coming up with something that's trying to deal in a way that's effective with the challenge. That's what strikes
Okay.
me. It's sort of just staying in a place of hold, which may be purposeful, because the longer you can stay in a place of hold, the more entrenched the settlements become or whatever.
Well, we are going to entrench those settlements. Let's just be clear about that, right? That's where we're going. That's where Israeli population is moving to politically. We're going to hold on to this land and build it because that's what we want to do.
Let Alma, because I think
Go ahead.
The soldiers are having to protect settlers at the expense of the lives of Palestinians. The Palestinians have had to leave their homes. Their shops are closed. I saw it with my own eyes, and it was very sad. And so I also have to say I was on a trip with J Street.
Hold on. Let me help people understand what you're saying.
Very different perspective on this.
Okay, that's fine. It's great. That's why I'm here.
What troubles me about demonizing the Palestinians and about saying this is our land without giving any say or any negotiations to the Palestinians or Jordan. What are we to tell the king of Jordan what he's to do? Jordan has all these refugees. I mean,
We didn't make those refugees. Right.
But it's not just.
You're talking about the 2 million refugees from the Syrian war?
See, my sense of being Jewish is not, this is mine, we're going to impose our view. My sense is that we should be a light unto the nations, ultimately, that our house should be a house of prayer for all peoples, or my house, God's house.
Sure.
And I don't see this as your narrative does not lead to that Jewish vision that's mine. My narrative is different, that's all.
Very good. Fabulous question. What's your name again, ma'am? Alma, great. Great question. I love the way you framed it. Very fair, okay? There's a lot of information to pack into a small amount of time. Let me give you one example. I have a Palestinian friend. His name is Sheikh Mohammed Jabir, okay? Sheikh Mohammed Jabir lives in Hebron. He was what I call a shtickle terrorist, okay? He was a small-time terrorist. And he went to Israeli jails. He found that he was surprised that the first time that he actually met Israelis, other than trying to kill them, he finally met them, and he was like, they're very decent folks. And he started getting a very different feeling about them. He had problems in jail, they treated him, et cetera, et cetera. He came out and he started speaking out for Israel. He changed his mind about terrorism. Now, he lived in Hebron. Now, a Knesset member, Rabbi Yehuda Glick, came to his house and they broke bread. And I would bring a lot of groups to Muhammad Jabir's house. A lot of groups. And I said, meet this Arab who's speaking pro-Israel. Anyway, one day he gets a call to come visit, to visit the Palestinian security services for an interview. He gets there, he gets arrested. They sent him for 40 days to Jericho to be tortured. Okay? What was his crime? His crime was he was against Palestinian nationalism because he was talking about that Israel is a decent state. Okay? The Palestinian Authority, I have no problem with Palestinian Arabs. I have many, many dealings with them daily. The problem we have is with the Palestinian Authority, which is just look at the stuff that they put out. Look at the stuff that they put out. They put out anti-Israel hate all the time. They teach it to their kids. It's a really big, I had a 17-year-old terrorist jump the fence in Kiryat Arba and murdered a 13-year-old girl, stabbing her viciously. When the press interviewed me, I said the girl was a victim of a heinous, horrific murder and crime that was perpetrated because of Israel hate. But there was another victim here. The victim was the terrorist, because from age 0 he's been fed anti-Israelism. Okay? He's a victim of brainwashing and of child abuse. I was talking about the terrorist here. Okay? Look, I don't have a lot of sympathy for the Palestinian Authority, and the Palestinian street doesn't have a lot of sympathy for the Palestinian Authority. I don't think it's a good organization. I think it's jihadist. In Hebron, it's Hamas, and it's also corrupt, and that is known and verified. With regarding to the street of Hebron, You went with a very famous organization, which, in my opinion, tries to delegitimize the Jewish community of Hebron and the settlers, and also the Israeli army, etc. Okay? When you went on this tour of Hebron, did you learn that Hebron is the richest Arab city in the Middle East until you get to like Dubai, with 5 billion shekels of exports a year? Did you know that it's a 20-kilometer square town, that when you get shown that Hebron, you get 1 kilometer street shown? It's not kilometer squared, just one street where the Jewish ghetto is. Did they tell you why the Arab stores are closed? Because of the incessant shooting and stabbing attacks, and that the Supreme Court of Israel asked the army asked the Supreme Court of Israel to close those stores so that the Jews wouldn't be attacked? Did he tell you, I'll finish up, hold on. Did he tell you that Jewish people have been living in Hebron for 3,300 years in various ways, about 1,500 years before Islam came around?
Yes, absolutely. We have the whole history of the Jewish attachment and of the tombs of the matriarchs and the patriarchs. And of course, the Muslims have an attachment to that.
I don't deny that at all.
Yes, it's very tense, but I think when you adopt a narrative like yours, it only adds to the tension.
I actually think it's the opposite. I think that when you adopt a narrative of clarity, that this is ours, and that you want decencies and rights for Arabs as minorities in your land.
It's ours, and you have the Palestinians who've been living there for generations. It's a hard argument to make, and it's a hard argument for the world to accept.
The world can accept. The world will accept if we say it clearly. I think the world will accept it happily. With regarding to ours, I never said. So what if there's Palestinians living there for generations? Give them decencies, civil rights, maybe a pathway to citizenship. I got no problem with that. I have no problem with Arabs living in my land. Arabs live in my land. Go to my mall.
I'm saying the Arabs living in my land when they feel it's their land.
Okay, we have a disagreement. We have a disagreement. That's exactly it. And they don't have that confusion. Like they have a sense that this is their land. We have to have a sense that this is our land. And that way we'll give the world clarity. I want to give Arabs clarity. You can live and have a decent life in, one second. You can have a decent life in our state. It's a small state, just accept our laws and live well in it. We lived in your states. We never tried to form an Israel in your countries, in your 22 countries. The minute we formed an Israel, you kicked us out and told us to go to Ruhul Quds, go to Jerusalem. So we went, and this is our small land. Let me tell you about conversations that I have with Arabs. I have distilled 1,000 conversations into one, okay? I speak with Arabs all the time. Here's how it goes. I have a way of speaking to them. It goes like this. I go, Allah loves you. Allah loves you. He has given you 22 countries, 400 million children, and oil coming out of the ground. Allah loves you. There's no question about that. Yes. I go, but this land He has given to us. This land He has given to us. How is it that we have defeated you in all these wars? How is it? Are we bigger than you? Are we richer than you? It's from Allah. And it says so in your Quran. There's 4 verses in the Quran that say the Jewish people are going to come back to the land of Israel. And you are not accepting the will of Allah. Look with your eyes and see, how is it that we're successful? Because it's the will of Allah. And you have to submit to the will of Allah. You're a bad Muslim if you don't. Okay? So here's what they say, because this is I'm a rabbi, it's a theological discussion. So, by the way, I was on Al Jazeera during the Gaza war, and the rockets were flying. So they said, how come, Mr. Fleisher, how come it is that the rockets are flying and only 70 Israelis have been killed? How could it be? That's what they asked me. I'm like, it's Allah. He's knocking away the rockets, okay? They were like, there's silence in the studio, you know? Anyway, so I say to them, Allah loves you, but He's given us this land. So here's what they say to me every time. They go, Yishai, you are right. But you have left the Sinai. You have left South Lebanon. You have left the West Bank. You have left Gaza. You are shrinking. And Allah is with us and we're patient. Okay? In their mind, our shrinkage, and when we talk about giving it away and all that kind of stuff, in their mind, this is the great jihadi vision of getting rid of this. Who are we? We are nothing but the Crusaders. We're nothing but the Byzantines. We're just a bunch of white folks coming here. We'll be here for 200 years and we'll be gone soon enough. And the minute we talk to them about giving away the land, is that they're like, there you go. You see? The Jews are going to walk out. We'll either beat them through war or through negotiation or through delegitimization. We'll get them in the end with time. And the way to work in the Middle East is to speak with clarity and to say, this is ours. We're not going anywhere. I'm not negotiating Jerusalem. Is that absurd? Why would I talk about my capital city? Was it ever your capital city? Get out of here. You want to live here, live in peace, accept my laws, just like in any other country. Live in my country, accept my laws, pay taxes, act decently, and live here. Tfaddal, ahlan wa sahlan, come and we'll live here. Be well and happy. You want to make a jihad on me? And what is their real complaint? Is it really that are we really the humanitarian abusers? Is that really their complaint? Please. Just go to our hospitals and see them. Half our hospital beds are Arabs. Go to our Supreme Court, Arabs. Go to our Knesset, Arabs. Is it really their complaint that in the country that's the best country to live in the whole Middle East that really we're abusers? To me, it's just hollow. It's just plain hollow. The real truth is, and everybody knows it, it's as plain as the sun, which is they have a jihadist mentality. Not all of them, of course, but there's a jihadist mentality out there, which says the Jewish people should not have a sovereign area in our lands, and it's a blight on our Islamic caliphate ideal, and we have to get rid of them, and it's going to be by hook or by crook, and the crook is, and here's the trick, folks. You know, they told me this is like a liberal synagogue. You know that, right? You know that that's the. They use our good liberal hearts to trick us. That's my opinion. They use a liberal veneer in front that we have to feel like, oh, somebody says to you, you're in an apartheid state. It's like the old question, how many times a day do you beat your wife? You know, how do you answer that? You know, it's like, you're in an apartheid state. I'm like, look, you know, really? I'm an apartheid state? I thought I was the most liberal state in the whole Middle East. And they use our good liberal hearts against ourselves. Where does liberalism come from? From our good heart. From our Jewish narrative of being a good people in a good country. I will say to you, and I'll get to your question right now, I will say to you one more thing. I don't think our rights in Israel derive from us being good. I don't think they derive from us being better, more democratic, more nice. I don't believe in any of that. I believe that we have a historical, legal right, a defensive war right, etc. There's many different loci of rights that we have rights to the land of Israel. We don't have to actually be better. I'm not all about being more moral. I'm not into that. I think that we can be even like Arabs. I'm an Arab also. I'm an Arab. I'm a tribe, a Semitic tribe, a Hebrew tribe in the land of Israel. I know how to deal with Arabs because they're my cousins. I've been living with them for the last 1,500 years. I'm a minority in their lands. I get it. And I understand how to make it in this area. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, my question is, so just assuming for a moment that the Palestinian population in the West Bank, I've been to Hebron, by the way, spent time there. I've been to the Ark, the Atrium, the same place as
The mamas and the papas, right? Bubby and Zadie.
Yeah, I've been there.
Okay.
So I just want you to know that. So
Good.
assume for a moment that the Palestinian population accepts your proposal to, you know, to be annexed, to become part of Israel. You just mentioned something about citizenship.
Okay.
So then that becomes, you know, that opens a big Pandora's box. Right?
Okay.
Because then, you know, from what I've read, you know, we have what 2.5, 3 million Palestinians.
Between 2 or 3. It's 1.8 on the right-wing version of it.
All the statistics come out.
Can I tell you something? Just one second. I want to tell you something. I'm in the right wing. I know all these guys that write the other statistics. I know about that. I still want to tell you, as a person who lives there and watches the Arab world, there's a lot of Arabs and a lot of Arab kids. That's all. Like, before we go into demographics and we're going up, they're going down, all that. Still a ton of them. You got to figure this out in any case. It's not like they're going off the map. Even though it is true that Arab birth rates have dropped precipitously. By the way, there's a specific reason why Arab birth rate drops. Does anybody know what the birth rate killer in the majority of the world is? Women's education. Not war. War makes babies. Okay? Women's education. Women are educated, boom. It just drops, except in a little country called Israel. Okay? I was just sitting next to, on the plane to AIPAC, I was sitting with a girl who is, she's my age, a lady who was speaking about from an intelligence unit to startup nation, and she's developed financial tech forecasting of where to invest and all that. And she's from an intelligence unit, and she's also a mom of 4. Okay, a secular girl, not a religious girl in any case. And Israel, strangely, interestingly, in the secular Israeli, I don't like the word secular, in the fully observant world, because we're not secular in Israel. Many of us are traditional. She told me, we make kiddush, we make this, that. Anyway, she's having a lot of babies. Go ahead. Yeah.
So you know where this is going. My question is going to be, so if you're going to absorb the Palestinian population,
Yeah.
the West Bank, into Israel, and
Yeah.
make them citizens,
Right.
and then, you know, people have worried about, people are worried about, you know, keeping Israel as the Jewish state that you mentioned earlier.
Nation state of the Jews.
Nation state of Israel.
Right. Or on the other hand, if you don't give them rights, then Rabbi Mitch is going to say,
Yes.
he's going to say, throw it out there. Come on, let's pick the big A word out there. Let's throw it out there. It's apartheid, right? Okay, that kind of thing. Okay, good. Okay, let's say it. Come on, folks. I don't need to be, you can throw the tough words at me. Go. Yeah. So either they matriculate and they run us over, or we push them to the side and it's apartheid. Fine, that's great. You know what, first and foremost, isn't it? I'm getting to it. Just give me a second. Okay. Okay. You're anxious to know. So is the rest of Israel. So before I answer that question, I just want you to know you framed it nicely. It's very important to frame it that way. Because what you framed is not that it's somebody else's land and we stole it, not that we should feel bad about that. We have a population issue, not a land issue. We have a population issue. And what you didn't say also is that population has been taught jihadism for the last 40 years. And they even had jihadism, really, we've been having an Arab war for the last 100 years. So at the end, we're also dealing with a population that is, we're not talking about Puerto Rico, okay? We're talking about a hostile population. Fine. Okay. Not all hostile. Certainly not all hostile, but in some measure, yes. Okay, fine. Okay, so that's the problem. So one option that I gave is that they will stay as residents in Israel and citizens of Amman. Here's another option. They will become will annex, they'll become residents of Israel, and they will have a pathway of citizenship for those people who prove loyalty. If you prove, what is loyalty? It means I'm willing to be an Arab Palestinian Muslim that lives in the Jewish state. By the way, this is a bad example for other reasons, but it's a good example in other reasons. Go down to Chinatown. What do people look like over there? They're Chinese. What do they read? Chinese. The signs are in Chinese, the newspapers are in Chinese. What do they eat? Chinese food. What's the medicine? Chinese medicine. So it's really culturally Chinese, but if somebody in Chinatown says to you, this is now part of China, that's called sedition. Okay? I don't have a problem with Arabs, Muslims, Palestinians living in my land. I'm from Haifa. Okay, we have Arabs and Muslims and self-identified Palestinians. Fine. But you have to accept the fact that you're living in a Jewish state. That's okay. It's not the worst thing in the world. Nobody's taking away your right to believe in Allah or whatever you want.
But you're not answering our question.
Hold on, 1 second. So that is, wait a minute, I am answering. Residency with a pathway to citizenship for people who prove loyalty. Now, they're not going to all go for citizenship, and proving loyalty will have to make it tough, because we actually are suspect that you're not loyal. We're suspicious of that. Plus, we'll have rights to revoke citizenship easier than here, for example, in America. Okay, freedom of speech will be more limited in that sense. If we see on Facebook that you say, kill the Jews or destroy Israel, we'll have to revoke your citizenship if you so gain it. Okay? And if you do gain it, you better follow the laws. You better go to the army or whatever it is, or national service. You have to be loyal to the state that you're living in. An example of that is the Druze. Can I ask you a question? What is the difference between the Druze and the Arabs? They're both basically Arab peoples. They both speak Arabic. They're not Muslim, and they also don't run jihad in their head. Why do these guys, the Druze, live in beautiful houses? I know, because I go there all the time. Why do they serve in our army, in our top units, etc.? Why are they such pro-Israel politicians? While the Arab, what do we have? Are we discriminatory against Muslims but pro-Druze? Is that what you think Yishai is? He loves the Druze but hates the Muslims? For me, it's no difference whatsoever. What's the difference between them? One has a seditious thinking, a jihadist thinking. One doesn't. The idea of the Druze is that they're like, okay, we're going to live as this religious minority in whatever ethnic group controls here, and that's fine. They're loyalists. It's so simple, folks. This is what bothers me. It's screaming in our face. 1 second, I'll get to you, I promise. Which is, here's a group of minorities that are loyalists. They live well. We give them the vote, etc. Some of the best Knesset members are Druze Knesset members. Okay, Circassians. Okay, so therefore you have groups of people who are not seditious loyalists. And if you have people who are seditious and not loyalists, then we have to deal with them. Either they're going to have change, and adopt, or they're going to have to leave, one way or another, because they want to destroy us. Why is it that in Jerusalem there are no-go zones? I lived in East Jerusalem. Why is that? Why can't my kid, if an Arab kid walks into the settler neighborhoods in East Jerusalem, what's going to happen to that Arab kid? Nothing. They're going to give him a cookie and some milk and make sure he gets back home. What's going to happen to I don't want to say. There's a problem, folks, and it's not because we're abusive. We're not the bad guys. That's the difference. Now, we want to figure out how to help them matriculate. Frankly, I'm a little bit, to be honest with you, just to be really, really honest with you, I'm a little bit upset because the Arab parties in the Knesset of Israeli Arabs has also tended now to move towards the anti-Israel, which means that the Arabs that you give a decent life to and have every opportunity and go to university and all that kind of stuff and have the vote and have everything in our Jewish state seem to vote against Israel. And so that's very disappointing to me. That makes me think that maybe
You knew this was coming.
I'm telling you that to me it hurts me. For example, the head of the Arab parties today is a guy named Ayman Ouda. Where's he from? Kababir in Haifa. Where am I from? Kababir in Haifa. I know where he's from. His family, nobody knows this. This guy Ayman Ouda, if you ever hear him, he writes in the New York Times and stuff. He's the darling. This guy Ayman Ouda, do you know what he is? He's not a regular Muslim. He's a different kind of Muslim called Ahmadi. What is that? It's a type of, what's the difference between Shiite and Sunni? They believe that this cousin was the right inheritor, this cousin was the right inheritor. Fine. Okay? So they believe something funny. The Arabs consider, the Muslims, regular Muslims, Sunni Muslims, consider them heretics. And they've been persecuted all around the world. They found refuge in Haifa. They live in beautiful homes. Many have government jobs. They are in an idyllic life. They're full citizens of Israel. I'm telling you, maybe you guys in Greenwich know this, but they have beautiful houses. You know what I mean? Maybe you wouldn't be jealous, but you know what I mean? They live in a beautiful life. This guy, Ayman Ouda, is the head of a party that constantly calls for blackens Israel's eye and says that it's an occupier and a thief and is pro-Palestine. So I'm very disappointed, to be honest with you. But I do believe that there are many decent Arabs that don't want that. Yes, sir. Your turn.
So just to carry out what the lady was saying, which I don't think you've addressed. If, you have this one state and you give them the rights and blah, blah, and eventually a path to citizenship.
For those who prove loyalty.
For those who prove whatever. But you've also said the Arab mentality is if we wait long enough. And let's say they do exactly, I'm talking on a theoretical, they do everything you tell them they have to do.
Right.
They become citizens, they have the right to vote.
Right.
Now, 50 years from now, they now are the majority or they vote. Are you willing to accept that then?
Good question.
That's what I don't understand when you said the term a Jewish state, but
Right.
if you give them the right to citizenship, there is a potential possibility of 50 or 100
I wasn't given it easily. That's basically the
Well,
thing.
I understand that, but
I'm
if
giving
they do it.
I'll tell you the truth. You're absolutely right. You're 100% right. You're absolutely right. You're 100% right. That's why my first option, I gave you the Jordan option. And another option that I didn't give you is maybe minorities that live in our land should be residents. Residents. With no pathway to citizenship.
I
Okay?
think that's what.
Okay, maybe that's more correct. And by the way, that is probably the Torah's outlook. Just if we're asking, the Torah has the outlook is that Gentiles that are in your land basically have to be loyal to the state. They're called in Hebrew, in the Torah language, ger toshav. Ger toshav. Ger toshav is resident alien. Resident alien means you live in the land, you get all of its benefits, but you don't steer it. You don't steer it. You don't steer the issues of where it's going. That means you get civil rights, but not necessarily national rights. You want national rights? Tfaddal, you have, right next door you have 22 countries. We're not giving you national rights if you're going to go this way. You're absolutely right that that's a question mark. I was trying to tweak it. One of my ideas is to try to tweak it in such a way that liberal-minded folks can swallow it a little bit easier. And the way we do it is we say to them, it's a pathway to citizenship, but we'll keep it tough. We'll make sure that we, and that we can take it away also if we find that you're becoming seditious. But your point is absolutely right. But I want to tell you what the conclusion can't be. It can't be that we're just going to walk away and gerrymander it. This is the left's big idea. Let's gerrymander the borders so that we shrink and shrink into our little borders, and now we can say we're Jewish and democratic because there's no Arabs here actually, right? This is the big left idea. The beautiful liberal idea is shrink away so that we'll cut out the Arabs, right? And who cares where the hell they go? Let them go behind the wall, right? And we can call ourselves Jewish democratic because we've shrunk into our little Tel Aviv thing, and we shrink and we shrink and we shrink. That's not a way a power acts. Do you understand? That's not the way a regional power player acts. We got to be big. Every power has minorities that live inside of it. Every serious state power, and certainly a regional power, has to deal with minorities inside of it and has to figure out ways. The real final bottom line is you got to clamp down on jihad. You got to get in there and smash those ideas. If there's an imam like that, you got to get rid of him. If somebody's writing that on Facebook, you got to deal with it. You can't allow this type of cancer to grow inside. You can't. Okay? Because it grows from inside. Today, our whole system rests on we catch the terrorist when he comes out of Hebron. We catch the terrorist when he comes out of Gaza. But inside the swamp, that's a loaded term around here. Inside forget it. Like erase, like I didn't say it. Okay? Inside, those areas, a bad jihadism grows. And you're absolutely right. We're trying to struggle with it. And what I would like to tell people like Rabbi Mitch is, I also am concerned with decencies and rights for decent people. In fact, we think that the right wing is more moral than the left wing. Because the real left wing idea is pull out, pull out, pull out, shrink Israel away, allow them to take over more. And what happens there? They get suppressed by the whatever junta takes over. Okay? We say no, bigger Israel means more rights for more people, more opportunities, more light. But yeah, we're going to have to crack down on this jihadism. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. And and another idea that people are floating in Israel is help folks that want to leave. Not through forced, but through assisted voluntary immigration. Meaning to say, help them. Give them I had a Dutch parliamentarian come to me, and he goes, and he's from the Freedom Party there, right? And he says to me, that's Geert Wilders' party, that's the right-wing party there. He said, the ultra-nationalist party in Holland. He says to me, I'll help you. What you have to do is you have to print for them Syrian passports, and then Germany will take them. That's what he told me, okay? Sir. Yeah.
Our country, way back, we had a president, Theodore Roosevelt, whatever. And he set the tone for this country that lasted until now. And it was walk, talk softly, but carry a big stick. We now have a president who seems to be reversing that. He's pulling our sticks out and increasing our big talk. And now he's encouraging the big talk of Netanyahu in Israel to step up his talk. And the problem is nobody's going to challenge and attack the United States. Mm-hmm. But Israel's 6 million people, and talk may not be cheap in Israel anymore, the way it's going.
What's your name, sir?
Ed Blum.
Ed Blum. Okay, Ed Blum's awesome. Okay, and he brought out the. I was like waiting for you guys. Come on, everybody went soft on me. Where's the Yishai? What do you support Trump and all that? Where's the fire and brimstone on this issue? But there you go. Okay, listen. With regarding to President Trump, I know it's a big issue around here, right? By the way, remember, I'm a naturalized American citizen. I care about this country. I don't vote in America because I feel that I don't know all of its issues and I don't know what it's best for it. I'm not affiliated with any particular party. I'm not partisan vis-a-vis the United States. Though a friend of mine said to me I should vote because America is in our business in Israel. And if you're in my business, maybe I'll get in your business. And I am an American. I have every right. Okay. It's a bit. What do you think? Should I vote or not vote? What do you say? Yes. Okay.
For who?
In an American no, that either I don't or do or don't have that democratic right. So, look, I know there's issues here, but those issues are not my issues. I see something very different. In Israel, we see the Trump thing very differently. For people like us. Well, let's hold on with Omar and that whole issue. Let's hold on for a second. First, let's get to the big fish. The question is about policy to me. The personality issues is not my. I have certain goals. One of them was the recognition of Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. That happened. The Golan Heights recognition, great. The defunding of terrorism that's been happening to UNRWA schools, very important. The stopping of payment directly towards terrorism through the Taylor Force Act, very important. These are things that didn't happen in the past. There was another event that I was personally involved in. I was personally involved in myself. And in fact, maybe you're looking at the person who really like, there are few times in life when you do something, whatever, that like you've changed the world a little bit, right? You know what I'm talking about? So we weren't sitting in Hebron when it came down that UNESCO was about to, who's UNESCO? You know that with our organization? It's the UN organization in charge of World Heritage Sites. And basically, they decided that, they were about to decide that Hebron, the tomb of the forefathers and mothers, in Hebron was a Palestinian World Heritage Site in danger from Israel. Wait a minute. It's a 2,000-year-old Jewish building on top of tombs that are 3,800 years old. That's going a little far. I mean, they also say that Jerusalem, that any presence of Israel in Jerusalem is a problem, that we're the occupying power in Jerusalem. Jerusalem. If we don't belong in Jerusalem, we don't belong anywhere. But I work for Hebron. So I said to the folks in the office, we've got to fight with UNESCO. We got to make a stink. And what did people in the office told me? What do you think they told me? Go? Or? Don't make waves? No, they don't care about it. Hebron doesn't care to make waves. That's not a problem. We make waves. What do they tell me? It's a waste of time, Yishai. You got limited resources, limited time. Don't waste time on UNESCO, right? But I'm like, no, we have to fight. Now, my mother, God bless her, big influence in my life. So my mother told me many years ago that rape victims, it's a statistic, that rape victims who struggled with their abusers in the short term oftentimes got more hurt, but in the long term did better in psychological recovery. Because they felt that they struggled against this thing. Even if they lost, they felt that they did not allow such a bad thing to happen, okay? That they did their best. And I said, that's what we have to do in Hebron. We got to struggle. We can't allow this international decision to say, you got to say, over my dead body, no way am I going to just lay back and accept this horrific state of affairs. So I started making a push. And very interestingly enough, I just started making a push. Immediately, Tzipi Chotabeli, who's a Likud, she's the deputy foreign minister, picked up. And we have a good connection with her. And she said, Yishai, make me flyers. I want to show all the ambassadors that have a UNESCO ambassador. I want to show them a flyer about Hebron and explain to them. So I did that. Within 24 hours, we made that. Interestingly enough, the next person who caught on was Tzipi Livni on the Israeli left. So I like to call it a tale of two Tzipis, okay? Tzipi Chotabeli, Tzipi Livni. She, on the left, she said, I'm willing to give away this land, but it's wrong to declare this place a Palestinian heritage site because it's a Jewish place, historically. Even though I'm willing to give it away, the town, I'm not willing to admit that it's not our land. So she started fighting. Anyway, we got the World Jewish Congress involved. We got this involved, this involved. Then I get a letter from an American multimillionaire, and he says, Shmuley Boteach wrote to me. You know who Shmuley Boteach is, right? So Shmuley Boteach wrote to me, says that he wants you on a plane with him to Krakow, Poland, to fight UNESCO where that decision was being made. Well, Shmuley says, we listen, right? It's America's rabbi. So I thought Mitch was America's rabbi, right? Rabbi Mitch. Out of Shalom Temple Shalom. But anyway, next plane, I'm on a plane to Krakow, and we're fighting with UNESCO. Well, you know what happened in the end? First, on that Friday, and that was Wednesday, the decision, Prime Minister Netanyahu pulled $1 million from UNESCO and gave it to Hebron. And I went to sleep that Shabbos, Friday night, I turned off the phone before Shabbos. Wow, what a victory. Who knew that soon afterwards, the Trump administration would pull out of UNESCO? By the way, the Reagan administration also pulled out of UNESCO, but pulled out of UNESCO in toto. And Israel followed suit. These were very important, and it was specifically because of the anti-Hebron decision. So yours truly had an impact on that. That's right. Thank you. It was really a great merit, and it was right. I wrote actually an article in the Jerusalem Post. It was called "National Identity Theft at UNESCO." National identity theft. So is that good? So we pushed on that. So look, the Trump administration, I'm sure it's got its issues here, but we see things differently from Israel. We see it's just a different thing. For example, you got the way people American Jews see immigration. You see it one way. Because you feel yourselves, not you specifically, but maybe you feel yourselves to be immigrants to America, and we should support other immigration. How do we see it in Israel? We build walls all the time when we're afraid that some immigration is trying to swallow our country away. So we just come from a different mindset. And we have a more defensive mindset, and somebody who's standing up for our identity, it's important to us right now. That's the way we perceive it, and that's why Israelis, not just religious Israelis, secular, President Trump has a very high approval rating, but it's a different thing. Don't think it's because we're Republican out there. You know, for example, economically, many Israelis, even myself, believe in some form of some kind of socialism, of medicine and in education. So I'm not necessarily right-wing on all things, but when it comes to, or conservative in all things, when it comes to the protection of the land of Israel, these are principles that are important to us. So that's how we see the Trump administration. So I understand what you're saying, sir, but accept the fact, I understand your question, but understand that from our perspective, from Israel's perspective, many, many great things have happened that were creeping along. Do you know how many years we were trying to get the American government to recognize Jerusalem? We passed that law, what was it, 22 years ago we passed the embassy law, but it finally happened. Okay, anybody else? Questions? Yes, ma'am.
Do you think Trump's acknowledging the Golan Heights will have an impact on Israel annexing part of Yudai Shamar?
Okay, so what's your name? Sharon asked whether I think the recognition of the Golan Heights as annexed to Israel, sovereign, that's the real word, sovereign Israel, is that going to impact the Judean Samaria West Bank question? Yes. It's going to impact that down the line. But here's a question that I'm going to face at Congress. People are going to say to me, Yishai, President Trump, the administration in any case, only recognized these places that you yourself recognized. You annexed Jerusalem. You annexed the Golan Heights. Now America is finally catching up. But you want us to recognize Judea and Samaria, the West Bank? You haven't annexed it. So I have three answers for that. Number one, you're right. And we're trying very hard to work on the Israeli government to figure that out, to annex it first. Yes, we're a movement to try to annex these parts. Two, you, the United States, have also pushed us towards a two-state solution all these years. So you had a hand in us not annexing, so now help us undo that. And three, and this is very important for everybody here, we're post-Gaza. We are post-Gaza. Gaza was the nail in the coffin of the land for peace thinking. Israelis just don't believe that it's a good idea to give away land because of what happens. It's basically, as we say in Israel, remember the asimon? Do you remember the asimon? Yeah. Do you remember in Israel we used to have a little coin, a specialized coin that you put into the phone? So we have an expression in Israel, asimon nafal. The asimon went through. Like you got the call came through. The call is giving away land is not a good idea. It's not a good idea. That's what I think Israelis are voting. What I'm telling you now is not just my opinion, but the voting change that's happening in Israel. Okay? All right, very good. Okay.